Yep, it's 7. We ready? Good evening. Welcome to the April 15th, 2020 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. At this time, I would request that everyone please turn off or mute all electronic devices. At this time, please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Applications for rezonings will be heard during tonight's meeting and will be voted on by the Planning and Zoning Commission. The Commission will then make a recommendation on the applications, which will be submitted to the St. Charles County Council for their final decision. The individual items for this evening's applications are scheduled to be introduced at the Monday, May 11th, 2020 County Council meeting. Applications for preliminary plats heard during tonight's meeting will also be voted on by the Planning and Zoning Commission during the meeting. The vote on preliminary plats is final. Only a recommendation for denial of a preliminary plat will be heard before the County Council. The following documents are introduced as a matter of record for this evening's public hearing and regular meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Those documents are the Unified Development Ordinance of St. Charles County, including zoning maps, and the year 2030 Master Plan for St. Charles County, which includes the year 2030 Future Land Use Plan map. Let me get this over here. Since this is our first virtual meeting, to ensure we have a quorum, I will call the roll. Mr. Kuhn, present.
Here.
Mr. Fromm?
Present.
Councilman Hollander?
Here.
Ms. Bamer? She's not called in. Mr. Clary? I am present. Let's see, who else is supposed? Mr. McDonald. Have none of them called in yet?
No, they were on the line.
Mr. Leonard. Okay. Technical difficulties.
Tracy Bamer is here.
Ms. Bamer's here. Mr. Clary? Mr. Clary?
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Here?
okay, you're here.
Okay.
Mr. Leonard?
Here.
Mr. McDonald? Not hearing Mr. McDonald, but we do have a quorum. So Chair will entertain a motion to open the meeting.
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor, sign aye.
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 Okay. Seeing no changes or additions to the agenda, we will proceed with the first item, which is a rezoning request. The location is 6171 Highway V, application number RZ 20-03. Property owners are Tully Investments Incorporated. The current zoning is A, agricultural district with floodway and floodway fringe overlay districts. Requested zoning is riverfront district with floodway and floodway fringe overlay district. The 2030 master plan recommends agricultural uses. The parcel size is 55.55 acres. And the location is on the west side of Highway V, approximately 1,300 feet north of North Shore Drive, and is located in Council District 6. Staff.
Good evening. If I could have the maps, please, brought up. Thank you. My name is Robert Myers. I'm the Planning and Zoning Division Director. And this first case, as you mentioned, is a rezoning request.
at 6171 Highway V. This property is located directly north of the city of St. Charles on the Mississippi River, and it's a long-standing marina. I believe the name is Polestar. Make sure that's not, like, I've got that right. But the property zoning is 55 acres. The property zoning is agricultural district with floodway fringe overlay districts. There are other marinas located nearby, one to the north, one to the south. Those are already zoned for riverfront. And so essentially this long-standing marina is looking to do the same, where they want to be rezoned to riverfront to allow them the opportunity to have ancillary uses to their existing marina. What I mean by that is in the A agricultural district, yes, a marina is allowed by right, but any of the other ancillary or accessory uses such as boat brokerage, sales and storage of boats, marine gas services, and campgrounds, all of those would be considered conditional uses in the A agricultural district, whereas in the riverfront district, those uses would be allowed by right. And so the request is to allow them to expand by right as necessary over time and as their business plan necessitates. County staff reviewed this request and notes that the master plan recommends agricultural. However, the marinas to the north and south, the master plan recommends parks and open space uses, and we believe that the zoning would be consistent with that overall pattern of land uses and zoning in the area. So we would recommend that the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend approval to the County Council.
Any questions for staff? Looking at the aerial photo, the majority of the property is covered by trees. If they decide to develop marina sales or campgrounds, do they have to come back to us?
They would not need to come back to this body if it were rezoned at riverfront and they wanted to use it for any use that's listed as by right in that district. They would have to get a site plan from county staff. They'd have to get land disturbance permits, permits from the Corps of Engineers. And so there would be a number of reviews that we would do administratively. And so we would make sure that they would conform, the development would conform to all of the county's ordinances and requirements through the site plan process.
Any other questions for staff?
So if there were permanent improvements, they would obviously have to be built up above floodway?
Let's see. There's a limited ability to build commercial properties that are not elevated, especially ones that are water-based. So for instance, we had a duck club recently that developed, it was commercial, and they dry flood-proofed everything that was below the base flood elevation. And so that was a way to allow the development to go forward for water-based businesses. So there are limited ways for commercial businesses to build without having to elevate.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for staff? Hearing none, we will now open the public hearing for RZ 20-03. Was there any comments from the public regarding this matter?
Yes, we had one communication from Arnie Dienoff, and he notes for RZ 20-03, 55-acre marina community, he recommends approval of the riverfront zoning district.
Okay. That being the only public comment, we will now close the public hearing. Oh, I forgot to have the applicant. Is the applicant present?
The applicant is present.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got out of order here. Any comments you would like to make? Well, first,
sir.
first, let me, you need to promise me you're raising your right hand. I have to swear you in. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings under the pains and penalties of perjury?
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Peter Tully. Are you asking for my home address or the business address?
Either one.
6171 Highway V, St. Charles, 63301.
Okay, go ahead, Peter.
I've heard it through this virtual program, and I think it's consistent with what I'm asking for and applied for. And if the recommendation holds, I'm fine.
Okay. Any questions from the applicant or for the applicant?
Yes, Peter, I was just wondering, do you have any idea in terms of how you would plan to develop it going forward?
Yeah, if you have something you evidently have something in front of you,
Yes.
a site plan or?
Yes.
Okay. If you look at you can see the entrance to the marina.
Uh-huh.
Okay, the downstream side, or if you're looking at it, the right side, that's a possibility of a campground / RV use, similar to what is at North Shore and similar to what is at Port Charles. And I have an indication I would like to put a boat out there. I have a boat that I would like to put out there instead of an RV. I've already talked to people with Ameren and others in preparation, but I will like to see what, I'm just going along with your recommendation. That's what, now, if you want to look at the wooded area is classified wooded wetland. I think there's 33 acres of that is classified wooded wetland, and I would have to mitigate against that with the Corps of Engineers, which there were no plans to do whatsoever.
Okay, great. And what about the utilities, if you do develop that with the sites? What kind of utilities would it be, I guess, both in terms of septic or sewer removal or water? How would you, if you were bringing people in there and let's say that type of use, what would you do for utilities?
If we bring Ameren in, they have given me a drawing already of 7 poles with a step-down transformer and the standard system I've talked to and reviewed with the county with a licensed electrician to see about what the heights are, et cetera, to make sure they're out of the harm's way. As with the docks, the docks that we have currently in there. And the septic, or not the septic system, but the black water would be kept in holding tanks and removed, or I could apply for a septic system, but I would have it removed through the normal septic system, or not, the holding tank pump out systems that come with, there's a truck that you pay to have that done. We're not offering that. We wouldn't offer that as a feature of the recreational vehicle platform.
Okay, so mostly they would just be plugging in, and then they would be more or less have their own use within the RV itself, I guess.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions for the applicant? Hearing none, we'll bring this back to the commission since we've already had the public hearing. Any questions for staff? Any questions for the applicant? Nope. Hearing none, Chair will entertain a motion to approve RZ 20-03.
Motion.
I motion to approve.
Motion by
Second.
Ms. Bamer, second by Mr. Hollander. Mr. Cleary, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhn?
Yes.
Mr. Fromm?
Yes.
Mr. Leonard?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Ms. Bamer?
Yes, approve. Approve.
Mr. Hollander, did I get you?
Yes.
Yes, and I vote yes. Application passes.
Thank you very much.
Well, come on. Next on the agenda is preliminary plat for re-subdivision of Callaway Valley Plat 1, Tract A. Location is 2977 Highway F. Application number PRE 20-01. Property owners is Robbie L. Johnson Revocable Living Trust. Surveyor is Landmark Surveying Company. Property zoning is A, agricultural district, 5-acre minimum lot size. Proposed lots are 3. Parcel size is 40.05 acres. The location is on the northeast terminus of Highway F and Callaway Ridge Drive, Council District, located in Council District 2. Staff.
Again, this is a request for a subdivision, or you might call it a re-subdivision. It's highly unusual that you'd have 40 acres that's already in an existing subdivision, but this is the situation that we're in. Platted many years ago, the Callaway Valley subdivision included what's called this Lot A, which is 40 acres, and now the owner is requesting that it be subdivided into 3 parcels, 2 5-acre parcels on Callaway Ridge Drive, and then the remainder, which was a much larger area of around 30 acres, that would take access from Highway F. It already has an existing driveway to Highway F. The MoDOT has already allowed access from Highway F, and so this is the plan. Eventually, those 40 acres will have 3 homes on them, 2 of the lots on Callaway Ridge, and the 3rd taking access from Highway F. And just as an aside, the developer has been working with the homeowners association such that future plans are to take that remainder 30 acres out of the subdivision, so it'll no longer be in a subdivision. But that's a whole nother process. That process would require application to the county council, review and approved by the county council. That's a future plan down the road, but I wanted to mention that. Let's see. The zoning, again, is A, agricultural. It would remain agricultural, but it would be a subdivision within the agricultural zoning district. And you have before you a preliminary plat, again, showing those 2 5-acre parcels and then the remainder, taking access from Highway F. So it's really pretty straightforward subdivision in a lot of ways, and county staff is recommending approval. I should also note there's no proposed improvements. All the streets are in. The only thing that would be built would be 2 driveways and 3 homes. And I believe 1 home is actually already under construction currently, the one off of Highway F.
Any questions for staff?
How
Hearing
many
none.
homes are to be built in the 30 acres?
1,
Or that's 1?
yes.
Okay.
Any other questions for staff? Hearing none, we will ask the applicant to come forward.
I'm representing the applicant. My name is Eric Murphy. I'm a real estate agent with properties in Austin. Can you hear me?
Okay. Would you raise your right hand for me?
Yes, sir.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings or the pains and penalties of perjury?
I do, so help me God.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Eric Merchant, 455 South Highway 19, New Florence, Missouri.
Okay, go ahead, Eric.
Hello, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. So the benefit here is that the average lot in Callaway Valley is probably about 7 acres. This is one of those unusually large lots. And the benefit to the association is that they'll be able to charge additional association fees, and it makes it likely to be developed and built upon, whereas before, having had it on the market for years, We just couldn't find someone that wanted to spend the amount of money necessary to buy the whole 40 acres and build a 2,400 square foot house. So this has really facilitated much greater level of interest in the property, will inevitably result in multiple homes being built as opposed to one being built that we were having a really hard time finding the right buyer for, because of the 40 acres was at $250,000, and people that would spend that and then have to build a 2,400 square foot ranch to an apartment.
Okay.
This benefits the property owner requesting the re-subdivision plat, benefits the association of Callaway Valley, they're all for it, and I think it will help the county with the tax base as well.
Any questions for the applicant? Any questions for the applicant? Hearing none, thank you. Oh, go ahead, Mr. Clary.
Yeah, I was just wondering now, these two lots that will front to the main drag there going into Callaway, now do they have to adopt the current, standards, or the current, what's the word I'm looking for? The
homeowners association.
thank you. Do they have to adopt those also?
Yes, they've never, the whole 40 acres was under those restrictions. And so the 2 5-acre lots that we're proposing to divide off would remain identical that there was for previous.
Okay, thank you.
More lots.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions for the applicant? Hearing none, we will now open the public hearing for application number PRE 20-01. Mr. Meyer, you want to put into the record the letter from Fred Weber?
Yes, make sure I've got this correct. There's a letter from Fred Weber, Inc., and it's signed by Douglas Weebley, the chairman and CEO. And it says, we're in receipt of a letter from the commission dated March 2nd regarding an application to approve of a preliminary plat for subdivision for approximately 40 acres. As you may know, Fred Weber owns and/or controls property along Highway F located to the northwest, west, and south of such proposed subdivision, as shown on the attached. We are writing the letter to advise the commission that since 1992, FWI has conducted surface and/or underground mining and surface crushing, screening, and stockpiling operations on the property shown on the attached map, and that such operations include blasting 6 days a week. Prior to FWI operating the property, it has been operated as a quarry since 1954. FWI intends to continue such operations indefinitely, and the underground mining operations are currently progressing northward. There's another paragraph included, but I would characterize the letter as putting everyone on notice that this is the activity that we have, and it's been going on for decades, and we're continuing in the future on this activity, just so everyone will be aware, including future buyers.
Okay. Any other comments regarding this application?
We had one other comment from Mr. Arnie Dienoff. Make sure I've got the right one. 2001. One, condition that the applicant meet all standards of the county subdivision ordinance. 2, condition deeper setback of home from the roadway. And he also has a general comment, actually it's for all of them, that's saying he's highly opposed to the proposed conduct and proposed illegal violations of the St. Charles County Council, my home county, and how it proposes to hold public meetings in violation of Chapter 610 in its entirety of the revised state statutes of Missouri. No authority is granted to the council in Section 610.021 of the statute. And that was his comment for all 3.
Okay. Any other letters, comments for the public hearing?
No.
Okay. We will now close the public hearing. Any additional questions for the applicant?
Yeah, I do. Eric, and based on what the Weber Construction Company has stated, what, I guess, do do you have any concerns about people putting homes on there that you're selling that would have blasting going on that amount of time?
I think that's a very valid question. However, I don't have a concern about it. I want to get a copy of that letter if this gets passed and we put it forward. I do want to get a copy of that letter and share it with any future owners. It's been going on for decades. I have had some people that lived at the property previously mention it. It was concerned to some, but very few. There's been people living there. I sold the first house in the subdivision on the left. Of course, never had an issue with it. The foundation was in great shape. It never seemed to bother her. I've been on site there during the day, scores and scores of times over the years showing it, and never felt a ground rumble, never heard a blast. So there's still blasting. I've been there while they're blasting. I just never noticed it. I noticed some stuff has been destroyed more than anything, but it's pretty much what you see, what you get there, and as long as the letter goes to everybody and they know what's going on. I don't think it'll inhibit future development and construction.
Any additional questions for the applicant? Hearing none, we'll bring this back to the commission. Any questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve PRE 20-01. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Cron makes the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Kuhn makes the second. Mr. Leonard, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Hollander?
Yes.
Ms. Bamer?
Yes.
Mr. Clary?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhn?
Yes.
Mr. Fromm?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Motion passes.
Thank you very much, folks. Do I have any further involvement at this point in the meeting, or should I time out?
You can check out.
You can check out. Yes, sir. Thank you for participating this way. The next item on our agenda is a preliminary plat for the Gronfeld Manor located at 4032 and 442 Junk Station Road. Application number PRE 20-05. Property owners is Donald A. Grunfeld and Darrell Lee Grunfeld Trust, Clarence William Roth Trust, and Amanda Verna Roth Trust. Developer is Rawls Company. Engineering is St. Charles Engineering. The property zoning is R1E/FF, single-family residential district, 7,000 square feet minimum lot size with floodway fringe overlay district. Proposed lots are 31. Parcel size is 16 acres. The location is on the southeast corner of the intersection of Upper Bottom Road and Jung Station Road, located in Council District 7. Staff.
This application is a preliminary plat without a rezoning. What I mean by that is they're not requesting any modification for the zoning by right. Single-family residential land uses are allowed for this property so long as the plat conforms to all the county's standards for the subdivision regulations, I should say. So in this case, you might call this an infill project in that multiple parcels would be assembled and then redeveloped as a single-family subdivision on the southeast corner, essentially of Upper Bottom Road and Jung Station Road, not far south from the city of St. Peters. 31 lots would be involved. The property drops off fairly rapidly from Jung Station Road towards the back side of it where a creek is located. And so in order to make this work and meet all of the county's requirements for street slope and other requirements, tree preservation, floodway preservation, et cetera, the development is what I would call essentially clustered towards the west and along Jung Station Road and Upper Bottom Road, such that the creek back behind would be left undeveloped. So in that undeveloped area, that will be common ground. So there's floodway fringe that's located in that common ground, and about 2.5 acres of trees that would be preserved in order to help meet the tree preservation requirements of the county, as well as requirements for stream bank protection. From the top of the bank, it's at least 25 feet back. All vegetation has to be preserved. So that back portion is going to be common ground. It's going to be owned by homeowners association and maintained by them. I would also note there's a number of retaining walls, block retaining walls throughout this development that would help make it all work, and again, in terms of maximum street slopes so they're not too steep. There's a number of comments from neighbors with questions, but one I'll bring up has to do with drainage. And I would say that this property is going to sit a little bit lower than neighboring property to the south. I think that's Huntley Manor, Huntley Manor Drive. So this property would be just a couple of feet lower than those lots to the south. That was a concern that was brought up by a couple of homeowners there about wood and water be coming onto my property, but it's actually going to go back down towards the creek within this property. So I wanted to address that. County staff reviewed this, including the highway department. One of the questions we asked was, we've gone back and forth about what's the best place to locate a street. Should it come off of Junk Station Road or Upper Bottom Road? There was some serious consideration for Junk Station Road, but eventually, because of site distance and other questions, they ended up going with taking access off of Upper Bottom Road. You'll also note there's a light at the intersection of Upper Bottom and Junk Station Road. So at peak traffic times, such as rush hour, that does back up the light there. The queuing of vehicles backs up to that light. So that is a concern at rush hour, but other than that, the highway department feels like that the development itself doesn't justify doing a full-blown traffic study, but instead they need to provide some specifics to the highway department or some details on how they're going to be managing traffic, but they don't see that the development itself doesn't necessitate doing a full-blown traffic study in advance of this plat. So having said that, county staff does recommend that the Planning and Zoning Commission approve the preliminary plat for Groenfeld Manor. And we have quite a number of comments from neighbors I can refer to whenever you're ready.
Okay. Any questions for staff?
What's the distance between the proposed turn-in and the one that's already existing into the Crown Passage Drive? It appears to be not a whole lot of room there, and with Junk Station Road just outside of that, it seems to me like there could be some serious traffic issues. People coming out of the Huntley Meadows, is that what that is?
Huntledge, yeah.
Subdivision, and people coming out of the new subdivision.
Yeah. Well, the key is it's got to be at least 300 feet between those two, and it's well over 300 feet. I don't know the exact distance. I could scale it off of here, but it's roughly 600 feet between those two.
This is Jim Piper, St. Charles Engineering. It's on sheet 3.
Okay, we'll have the engineer to answer that question.
Okay.
If that's okay with you?
Sure.
Okay. Any other questions for staff?
So is there going to be an additional turn-in, turn-out lane because of the putting that amount of traffic on that area? And also, I'm concerned about as people are coming up or bottom approaching Junk Station Road, that would appear to be with the additional subdivision there, perhaps just an overly amount of traffic that could be making left turns in and out of there. It just seems to me it's setting up a scenario where you could have some confusion for drivers coming along there as to what the proper procedure was. So basically, I guess in terms of lanes? What's going to be done in terms of lanes there?
Mr. Clary, you want to hold your question, and then we'll have the applicants, the engineer speak?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, let's see, who was here? Mr. Piper,
Yes, sir.
would you please raise your right hand? You solemnly swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings under the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes, sir.
Please state your name and address for the record.
James Piper, St. Charles Engineering, 801 South 5th Street.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Well, as far as the entrances, either choice, it was kind of the lesser of two evils. Neither one of them works wonderfully. So the idea of doing an entrance opposed to Rockford Way, it is in every single turn, the sight distance is insufficient at that location. There's a third lane, so traffic is usually driving a little faster. At least that's the way the calculations are set up. And you need even more sight distance from there as you do from Young's. Young's has sufficient sight distance plus some. So we do acknowledge that traffic backs up, and it backs up past this intersection regularly. But if we were to put the entrance across from Rockford, we believe that the increase in traffic along the roadways would drive down Upper Bottom anyway. So this gets them off the Upper Bottom, out of that queue before the light. It is a traffic problem, but we're not seeing it as the entrance necessarily, as it's just simply too much traffic at that light every night during rush hour.
So I'll go back to the question about the additional lane. So if traffic's already backing up beyond there, don't you foresee that as a problem, people being able to turn in and out of there at rush hour traffic?
Making a left? Possibly, yes.
Well, and also the people turning into the subdivision, if it's already backing up, you'll have people
Correct.
waiting.
That backup's there anyway.
Yeah.
So if we put the entrance on Rockford Way, you got to go through that intersection to get there.
My real point is I'm just wondering if there's going to be a turning lane in and out of that subdivision, a separate designated turning lane.
As of now, we were not proposing one.
Okay.
Mr. Clear, are you talking about a turning lane on Upper Bottom, on,
I'm sorry, yes, on Upper Bottom Road to allow that, it's already going to be a heavy congested area, but that would seem to alleviate it some in terms of backup and queuing through that intersection.
I believe that would be a county issue, wouldn't it, Mr. Meyer?
Yes, the County Highway Department indicated to us that they didn't believe that the additional traffic would be sufficient to warrant a traffic study before the preliminary plat, as a requirement for the preliminary plat approval. So that was their comment.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant?
If you add an additional roughly 70 drivers a day there, what's that going to do to the wait times, the possibility for accidents, frustration? If you look at each home has roughly two cars, maybe plus driving. That's a lot of traffic to add to that area.
Yeah.
I'll reply. I do acknowledge that yes, it is increasing traffic in the area. The entrance location is almost irrelevant because of the traffic flows in this area. And as Robert has said, we are not doing a traffic study. I'm just very familiar with the traffic flows in this area. So I'm speaking a little out of school here, but regardless, you're increasing traffic on these roadways. So yes, all of those things are true, but it does, wherever we put the entrance, it's the same issue.
I have a question about the sloping of this property and potential water problems with the rooftops and the concrete and what's going to be the slope of the final layout of this property where the homes are going to be? Is it going to be level there or slightly not level, or where's the water going to go? And I mean, I know where it's going to go, but is it going to create a bigger problem down in the common area there? I understand you're going to put retaining walls in, but it seems like erosion could be a big issue here.
Well, our maximum street percentage is 8%, so no lot will be steeper than that. They're all 70 feet wide, and we are directing all of our stormwater into storm pipes as soon as possible, into a system underground to prevent erosion, and then down into the common ground area into a detention basin where it will pond for a period of hours.
Okay.
So there is a retention basin.
How tall are your retaining walls going to have to be?
We don't have to
Believe
applicate that, do we?
roughly 10 feet tall in the rear yards of lots 31 through 25.
He's representing the builder.
Oh,
I'm sorry,
Would you
I didn't
repeat
hear-
that again?
Roughly 10 feet tall behind the lots of 31 through 25.
Okay.
Any other questions for the applicant? Hearing none, we will now open the public hearing for PRE 20-05. Mr. Myers, you want to put into the record the various correspondence we received?
Certainly, we received communications from Bernard Martin, Lori Neuschwander, Frank Dvorak, Betty Hildebrandt, Donna Maureen Curtis, Russ and Dottie Freitag, Eunice Torreta, Karen and Kevin Beer, Ann Baker, John and Karen Baker, Lisa and Dave Woznicki, sorry. And there was, we also have communications, responding to these communications by the engineer. He responded individually to a number of these to provide some answers for them.
Okay. And you have Mr. Denoff's statement?
I do. I can handle this however you'd like. If you would like to read any or all of them, I can read the short ones, or how would you like to handle it?
Could you summarize what some of the concerns were?
Yes, the concerns in summary, there were some concerns from homes adjoining directly to the south. Those homes on Huntley Manor had concerns about where the property be higher or lower and where water would go, how far the closest home would be to their home, which I could answer to be about 100 feet at the closest point, as best I can tell. There were concerns about traffic, certainly, on additional traffic on Upper Bottom Road. Let's see, those were the main concerns. We had questions about, there were several questions about traffic, also questions about the price point of the homes and how different those might be from homes in adjoining subdivisions, and would that or would that not affect their property values? Stormwater, erosion along the creek, and those are the main concerns that I recall.
Any other questions regarding the public comments that we've received?
What are the price points?
We can ask him when we bring him back.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Hearing none, we will close the public hearing for application PRE 20-05 and bring that back to the commission. Any additional questions for the applicant? You can.
Yeah,
I'd actually like to state one thing. Some of the community comments, I just want to point out, we did get one community comment from a gentleman who lives off of Young Station, and his comment was he opposed an entrance on Young Station. So we got opposition to both roads.
Yeah.
That was all.
Let's see, Mr. Zagorowski, are you on the line?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings under the pains and penalties of perjury.
Yes, sir.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Edward Zigarovich III, 2200 Barrett Station Road, Baldwin, Missouri, 63021. That is the address of Browse Company.
Okay. You want to go ahead and ask your question, your price point.
What are the price points going to be on some of the smaller houses that are on the back side of the development?
So, without having a fully fleshed out development plan that we can bid out, it is difficult to pinpoint it. Obviously, our ground cost, our development cost, that is going to dictate our final sales cost. I will say that a development in a similar area with a similar product type, it's called Bristol Ridge. It's off of Old Frieden Roads near Tallbridge community. Our starting price there was $279,900. Well, we are paying roughly twice the amount for the raw ground. That site, we were able to front a lot onto Old Road, meaning our development cost was low. That site did not require as much grading, not anywhere near as much grading as this site. That site did not require as much pipe work as this site. To say that, again, we can never, I would never put in public record, we are going to start at this price. To say that we would be below 300 would be a dream on our part. The cost of ground, the cost of developing this site will put us at a point where we will exceed the average sales price of transfers in the Huntley Manor sub.
Okay. Any other? Go ahead.
There's always a concern by existing homeowners that a new development would decrease property values. That would be nearly unfounded. I don't know that you could ever point to a place where new construction sells for less than existing homes, particularly in this market. And I know we are going through some changes right now. We're all wondering what it's going to be, but it just does not happen.
Not for comparable houses. That's true. But if it's a comparable house or less than what the houses are next to it, that's what I think Tom's kind of alluding to. What kind of house are you going to build? How big are the houses going to be?
Yeah, you've got 9,000 square foot lots.
Now I understand the question maybe further. On Saturday morning, I did have a Zoom meeting with the adjoining Huntley Manor HOA, the concerned people with that. I provided them with the brochures of the homes that we would today offer in this community. They are very comparable to the adjoining homes.
Okay.
Again, that Bristol Ridge subdivision that I mentioned is comparable to the homes in Huntley Manor.
Right, so do you know what the lot sizes are in Huntley Manor right now? Does anybody have that information? Do we know? Are they comparable to this?
I could find out quickly here.
I mean, I really can't tell from the,
Yeah, I was there today, and
they're pretty nice. I mean, it's nice, but I can't tell how big they really are,
Yeah, they're-
the lots.
I think
They're
more-
not
more
quarter
like
acre,
the
they're,
12 to 15,000 in Huntley.
Are they?
Yeah. I'm just guessing.
Correct? It's the same zoning, correct?
I don't remember.
Yes.
yeah, same
Yeah, so
zoning,
it's-
so it'd be 7,000 minimum.
Minimum.
Right.
I mean, nothing's 7,000 in what he's proposing. Everything's 9,000 or bigger.
Yeah.
Or 8,000 is the smallest, look like 8,600. I mean, he's got a 18,000 square foot lot in the subdivision.
So Ed, I understand that wouldn't be saying a price point, but what about a minimum and maximum square footage in terms of what you're going to write into your subdivision restrictions?
Yeah.
We don't, our boilerplate HOA indentures does not have that. Is that a requirement of St. Charles County that I am
I can't speak to that, but I just have, I just want to know what we're analyzing here.
Sure. If that is a requirement of St. Charles County, we would certainly meet that requirement.
I agree with the previous member, wondering what just an average size home is going to be. Is it comparable to what's going to be in Huntley Manor, or is in Huntley Manor per square foot?
So I don't know the actual square footage of all of the homes in Huntley
What is the
Manor.
average?
I don't know the average
Oh, okay.
of the square footage of the homes in Huntley Manor to give you a comparison. I think our Bristol Ridge community, again, would be the best comparison. And we have homes in there starting at ranch homes at 1562, and then 2 stories in the 2,000 to 3,000 square foot range. It don't depend on what the purchasers select.
You wouldn't envision smaller homes on the ranch than that, would you?
No, for this lot cost that we're going to be into, our perceived lot cost, I don't see how you can home that would ever be less than.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Do have a little information, a question about lot size. So Huntley Manor, the zoning is R1E, single-family residential. That's a minimum of 7,000 square foot lot size, and it's the same zoning for several miles around. Everything is all solidly R1E, single-family residential. Let me verify that 7,000 is correct. I believe it is. Make sure I don't have that wrong. Yes, 7,000 square foot minimum. So Huntley Manor to the, what would that be, the east, I guess? I just did a little quick math, and it looks like the lots are roughly 10,000 square feet to 17,000 square feet, somewhere in that range. The lots that back up to that creek on the other side are a little bit larger, as you might imagine, so that those are some of those that are like 17,000, somewhere around there.
Okay. That helps.
Any other questions for the applicant? If not, thank you, sir. Chair will bring this back to the commission. Is there any other questions, comments? Hearing none, Chair.
I guess I do have, I think that subdivision looks like a good subdivision. I think Rouse builds a good home. But I do have some concerns about the entrance and the safety. Does anybody else have those concerns? I think the subdivision looks like it'd be good.
Yeah, Mr. Cleary, this is Commissioner McDonald. I share those concerns.
As does Tracy Bamer.
Any other questions, comments?
Could we perhaps put an addendum onto this and say that there'd be a traffic study done and if the traffic study indicates that there's no additional lanes needed or no additional concerns about safety, then yeah, it's good.
You have to make a motion to do that.
Yeah, there would have to be a motion made to add that condition.
Okay, I make a motion that approval is there based on a traffic study's final reports.
Okay, hold on.
Who are we requiring to do the traffic study? That would be my question.
I would say since it's St. Charles' final decision, I would think it would be St. Charles County would make that. I don't know what.
Wow.
The county's already said that they don't see the need for it.
Yeah.
So if you want a traffic study, it'd have to be at the expense of the applicant.
Right. Yeah, and technically, I don't know if it'd be a traffic study or traffic analysis. So if you're looking at going in this direction, you might want to leave a little room for a traffic study or traffic analysis at the discretion of the highway department. That's what I'm thinking.
That would be fine to change the addendum as far as I'm concerned, or the wording as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, so your motion would be that we would require a traffic analysis at the discretion of St. Charles County Highway Department?
Yes.
Did I get that correct, Mr. Meyer?
Well, what I was thinking is my understanding is a traffic study is more involved and more rigorous than traffic analysis. And I'm not sure which would be warranted here based on this level of development, but I think the highway department could make that determination whether it should be traffic analysis or traffic study. So what I was thinking, if you want to add that as a requirement, that it would be contingent upon satisfaction of either a traffic analysis or traffic study to be at discretion of the highway department, which one they're going to require.
Okay. So let me restate then. So your motion would be that the St. Charles County Highway Department determine whether there should be a traffic study or traffic analysis to be the expense of that study be borne by the applicant.
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm, since they already did the analysis, I think that's correct.
Okay, so that's your motion.
Yes.
Is there a second?
I second.
Mr. McDonald seconded. Okay, Mr. Hollander, how do you vote?
No.
Mr. Kuhn?
No.
Mr. Leonard?
Yes.
Mr. Fromm?
No.
Mr. Clary?
Yes.
Ms. Bamer?
Yes.
And I vote no. Motion fails 4-3. Oh, did I get Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Oh, it's a tie. I'm sorry.
So just for clarification, was that motion on adding the condition, or was that the?
That was his motion to have the highway department determine whether there's a
Okay.
Traffic study or analysis, and then whatever they determined would then be at the expense of the applicant.
Okay.
So make sure I have this one more time. Ms. Bamer voted yes, is that correct?
Correct.
Mr. Clary voted yes.
Correct.
Mr. Fromm voted no.
Correct.
I voted no. Mr. Leonard voted yes.
Yes.
Mr. Kuhn voted no. Mr. McDonald voted yes.
Yeah.
And Mr. Hollander voted no.
Correct.
So it's 4-4, so the motion fails. Okay, now we're back to the application. Is there a motion to approve application PR, wait a minute. I got my papers all out of whack here. No, here it is. Application number PRE 20-05 as presented by staff. Motion to approve.
Motion.
Mr. Hollander makes the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. McDonald made the second. Ms. Bamer, how do you vote?
Yes,
You're voting in favor.
yes,
Mr. Clary?
No, I think the study should be done.
So you're voting no? This is
No.
not on the study, this is on the application.
Oh, okay, well, I mean, if the other thing's been turned down, it's, yeah, I guess, if that's not part of it, yes.
Yes, okay. Mr. Kuhn?
No.
Voting no. Mr. Fromm?
Yes.
Mr. Leonard?
No.
Mr. McDonald?
Since there's no traffic study, I'm going to vote no.
Okay, Mr. Hollander?
Yes.
I vote yes. Application passes 5-3. Okay. Get back to the agenda. We have no continued items. The next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from March 18th, 2020 regular meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor sign aye.
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 Other business, staff have any updates?
I wanted to let you know that there's a new ordinance that's been passed and a new type of plat that's now possible when 5+ acre lots are involved, and only 5+ acre lots. And it's called a minor subdivision plat. For years and years, we've had a one-size-fits-all type of plat, and that is you go through this admittedly rigorous process, but that's really geared towards subdivisions that have improvements to be built. If you characterize zoning, it's about land use. If you characterize subdivision regulations, it's about improvements. Well, what do you do in rural areas where there's no public improvements? There's hardly any improvements, frankly. And the expectations are lower in rural areas for improvements, like, do really people expect curb and gutter or even paved streets necessarily in rural areas? So again, for so many years, we've had this one-size-fits-all subdivision regulations. Now the county council's recently passed what we're calling a minor subdivision. If it meets certain basic requirements, it's not going, they won't go to the Planning and Zoning Commission, but they would be approved by county staff. But they're including things like it has to be 5+ acre lots. All lots must front on either a public street, private street, or some sort of easement. And where the easement or street comes out on the main roadway, we check for sight distance and safety considerations, make sure that emergency communications has addressed all of those parcels, and there's a few other very basic requirements that we have. But we think this will be helpful because when the subdivision rules were changed in 1999, they left what I'll call an out for parcels that exist in 1999. They said any parcel exists in 1999, you can have you can create 2 parcels from that less than 10 acres, and you don't have to get anything from the county. You can just create those by deed. But after that point, you have to do a subdivision plat. Well, what's happened is over the years, all these parcels, they've gone through their 2 free, I'll call them the 2 free lots, and now they're bumping up against having to do subdivision plats for 5+ acre lots even. So because of that, this new process has been created, and I've really looked forward to using this because I think it will be less about trying to hammer a square peg into a round hole sometimes in rural areas and trying to force these 5+ acre lots into the subdivision standards. So that's now available. I want to let you know that, and it's called the minor subdivision process.
Okay.
It's interesting.
Any questions, Mr. Meyer?
Yeah, I do, Robert. It's not related to that, but I'm just interested in this whole idea of the traffic. Is there any criteria that triggers, yes, it needs a study, or no, it doesn't, just because I want to know in the future going forward?
There are criteria that have been adopted by the Highway Department, and I can get you the specifics on that. I don't have the specifics with me here currently, but I'll get you that information.
Yeah, if you can just send it to me, I appreciate that.
Sure.
Thank you.
Anyone have anything else to bring before the commission? Hearing no one, thank everyone for participating in these unusual times, but we will all get through it. So Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Don't move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, sign aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
That's good.